That's interesting. There she is. There you are.
There. Finally. Good. Okay, let me get a full screen here. Oh, I think I'm with you now.
How are you?
I've recovered from yesterday.
Oh, what was yesterday?
I felt like I was dying. It's like when I sat to meditate, I had the thought of, well, let me be present to the people in the world who are dying. And that wasn't a good plan.
Duh.
That wasn't a good idea because it made me curious. Well, how many people die each day? So I looked that up. I got all, I tore my notes up because it just threw me into this mental state of dying and facing my own mortality, and then realizing I've got to do shit before I die so that people who love me won't be burdened.
There's
So,
that.
yeah, so that threw me into this state of mind that was terrible. I did it to myself.
What can I say?
Oh, I swear it was terrible.
Yeah.
But I recovered some kind of way. But it's off-putting, to say the least. Mark Hubbard used to use that word. It's off-putting. Kick you in the ass is what it does.
Ah, yes.
So I'm still recovering from that. I haven't shifted my focus. I haven't become engaged or involved in anything else yet, because the fact is I have to do it.
Yeah.
I have to do it. I've got to go find out how you end your life. You know, I'm going to go to Samson Clinic and see what the paperwork that you have to deal with.
Yeah, I don't know that it's horrible, but figuring out what you want to do with your body is really a big thing, and making that possible.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's when I'm on the edge of that. When Owen died, I had to do that for him. So I discovered that there is a, a cemetery funeral parlor near us that does green burials. They kind of got coerced into it. It's not like they're philosophically aligned. It's like it's another product to offer to capture the market, but it is here. And so you can be composted. And
that's so expensive.
well, it's about $3,000. It's not that bad. An actual funeral with a casket and all that can be more than 10.
I wouldn't do that.
So yeah, so trying to find out something that's doable. We'll see, it's doable because it's right here. It's here in where am I? Spokane. It's here in Spokane. And so it would be easy for people here to do. There are other places. There's a place in Wenatchee and there's a place toward Oregon, but that's just, more difficult for people to do. So this would be very easy for people to do. And $3,000 is not too bad, all things considered. And one of the interesting things is if you create a contract and you start paying on it, then if you die before the contract, if you create a contract with them,
with some agency that,
no, this particular agency, then if you die before you finish paying, they will still bury you.
okay.
So that's, instead of saying, well, too bad, tough it, your surviving folks are on their own to find something else, they will follow through on the contract.
It's still Greek to me.
So if you have not totally paid for the
contract,
if you have not totally paid for their services by the time you've died, they will still bury you.
But is that specific to Spokane?
That particular place, yes.
Right. And
yeah.
What is it called? A funeral parlor or what?
No, it's I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
It's a really big cemetery here. It's where everybody that we have known that has died here has been involved in that, at least to have the memorial there. Owen wasn't laid to rest there. He went out to the Veterans Cemetery, which is a whole other thing. Yeah.
Yeah, this is it's natural part of life, but it's very foreign socially.
Oh yeah, and it's not natural, most of it. It's all, yeah. They just do one thing and another and charge you right up the wazoo. My father's funeral, I saw the bill and it was like $16,000. That was like stupid.
That's
so
ridiculous.
He's in this walnut casket placed in a cement crypt in a hill. So the chances of him eventually sliding down are, I would think, pretty good. It was just crazy. It was just crazy. Why? What's the point? But that's what they did. And that's so Margaret felt that everybody would know that she loved him.
Well, I've got to find my way.
Yeah. Green burials are really good. There's lots of options now. You can, but it's finding a place that will accept a person in something other than the standard burial stuff. So you can do cardboard boxes now. You can get a box and paint it up for yourself. You can do all sorts of things. But you have to find a place that will accept it. So that's the key right now. But there are.
What's the industry called?
Green burial.
That's only in Washington and a little bit in Oregon.
It's nationwide. It's nationwide.
I looked it up a while back, less than a year.
No, I looked it up when I was in California and I found lots of places.
Green burial.
Yeah.
I just want simple, and the simplest, cheapest, easiest, you know.
Well, those things don't go together.
Okay.
Figure out what's the highest priority and go for that.
Yeah, I gotta figure that out. Simple, easiest, and cheapest don't go together. So I have to get my priorities.
Yeah, no, it's hard to find a cemetery that will take anything other than the regular casket. That's the biggest hurdle. And composting is a new thing now. It just really kind of came into prominence a couple of years ago. So finding a place that will do that, and that what they do, it's a process where they just take your body and they literally compost it. It becomes liquid. And then what do they do with that? They can use it as compost. But I mean, that's what I'm saying, easy. It is simple in a way. It's not so cheap, but it's probably cheaper than a lot of other ways of doing it. I mean, it's just, you just have to look. There's all sorts of options.
I'll take it a step at a time. I'll go to what paperwork first. What
Process first and then paperwork, because once you know what you're doing, you'll know what paperwork to fill out. I mean, what you're filling out is the directive to whoever is going to manage your affairs as to what to do.
But see, that's what I mean. You have to have paperwork for that. You have to plan for that.
Yeah, but you have to know what you're going to ask them to do, and that will tell you how to fill out the paperwork.
I need paper. I need paper.
Wow.
Just to get the ball rolling. I need.
Yeah, well, and that's why I looked at this contract, because that would do that. See, if I signed up with this company, then it would be really clear what anybody would have to do, who they talk to, all of that would be done. That's how you do that.
That doesn't help me take the first step. How do I take, what's the first step?
Well, figuring out what you want. Whether green burial is important, or whether you just want to be buried in a regular place, and pick a place. They all will allow you to buy something. Every funeral parlor has a program.
That doesn't give me my first step. The only first step I know at this point is to walk to Samson Clinic and ask them if they have end of life something that I can read.
What's the
steps to it? Because there's paperwork you have to fill out, and in terms of will or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, a will is a whole separate thing.
Right.
And there's end of life, it's 5 steps, 5 choices, 5 something or other. You can get that online to fill out, and that says whether you want to be resuscitated and put on a ventilator and a feeding tube or not. And that's for the hospital. But that has nothing to do with what happens to your body afterwards or where they put you. So that's a whole other piece.
Right. right. There's hospital stuff and there's dealing with your body, your dead body stuff.
Yep.
So those are two things.
Yep. Yep. And I was talking about the dead body stuff. So those are choices that you can make and agreements that you can have with the people that do that kind of thing, so that everybody knows they talk to this group and you've already paid or whatever. And this is what you have agreed with that group that you're going to do, and they'll know, they'll just do whatever you say. And there are people who will actually come to your house and talk to you about it. The Neptune Society is a group that I've belonged to forever, and they don't keep very good records. They really don't, because I have been a member of the Neptune Society, probably since the 60s in California, and I moved here and nobody knew anything about it. I couldn't find any records at all. Nobody here could find any records that I was a member, which doesn't give me faith that if I died, they'd know who I was or what to do with me. So there was another group that's local, and that was $2,000, I believe. And we weren't into composting, but I think there was a sort of natural burial that was possible, or cremation maybe, that was possible through them. Yeah. So, I mean, there's just decide what you want. If you want to be cremated, look for cremation things and find out who's the cheapest that will do that in your area,
What you want. Okay,
Yeah.
this is what I want. I want my body to, I don't want any of it.
Well, you can do that, but you have to find a company that will do that. And you have to get them and in a contract so that they can manage that. It's possible.
I understand that. It's just not my favorite subject.
Well, I mean, why it's,
But it confronted me yesterday, but I brought it on myself and I said, oh, let me be present to people who are dying in the world right now.
Well, evidently something is tapping you on the shoulder saying you need to do this. So
It is.
yeah.
Yesterday. Now, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah.
It's the only sane and loving thing to do. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and then there's affordability. That's the other thing. So that's my big stop right now, especially if we're going to do a house. So
Uh-huh.
it is what it is. It'll be what it is. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's my deep dive.
Oh, green burials are very interesting. I mean, it has come such a long way. It's the movement is really for people for who it's the memorial that counts. And so the death becomes part of that, because you don't need to be embalmed. There's no law that says you have to be embalmed. But then if you're not embalmed and you want to be available for people to say goodbye to you, then, you have to have ice. You have to have somebody who's willing to manage that. And that's doable. It's all doable, but you do have to plan for it. It's not something that it's nice to throw on people to say, you got to do all the stuff that is really foreign to them.
I do have a plan. I forgot. So cremated. Well, so
Yeah.
I buy an urn.
Mhm.
I have myself cremated, and then arrange for somebody to send the urn to my sister in Indianapolis. Well, my niece in Indianapolis, who will bury my ashes in her garden.
Oh, okay.
In the garden.
Yeah, and she probably won't tell anybody about that because that's probably illegal.
Okay.
There are rules about what you can do with ashes.
Why?
Because my son was cremated, And we have his ashes, and we were going to go spread them around Disneyland. We were going to take all his friends, and everybody would take a piece of them, and we would just sprinkle them around, because he loved Disneyland. He absolutely loved it. So we were just going to put it, in the gardens and around the trees and flowers and stuff there, but we never did.
No, I wouldn't want that to
He
try
would.
to go to Disneyland and
No, but he would. That was his thing. It wasn't mine. I wouldn't want to be there either, but he really loved it. So it was a
I-
perfect
I
place.
mean,
And
that's
they had so much
wonderful
fun,
place.
all of them. So it was good memories for everybody.
You couldn't do it in a public place. That's
Well,
not in order.
Well, that's yeah. I mean, you pick your own. It's all about you.
Yeah, we don't, our society doesn't really focus on that end of life.
Out of sight, out of mind.
That's why I'm
Yeah,
so inept at this point in addressing this,
yeah.
but I'll do it.
Well, it sounds like you've got part of a plan already, so you just need to pick a crematorium.
Okay. Crematorium.
Yeah. Yep.
And an urn.
And they
Or-
will sell you an
or-
urn. You can go pick one out. In fact, you can probably Google that and find some really wonderful urns.
Oh, wait a minute. I years ago, it's in my closet. I forget what it's called. But you bury it. It's got a seed in it.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd have to get a new seed, I guess, because it's been years and I don't know what seed I would want. I mean, I could be a maple seed, a maple.
Yeah.
But you bury it in a tree.
Tree.
would
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah. That's kind of nice. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. But I have it in my closet. I forgot about it.
See, you're not as unprepared as you thought. You're halfway there.
I wasn't prepared yesterday though, when my whole consciousness shifted to my death. And then I have to prepare for it. Okay, well, that's part of life.
Yep. Yep.
It is, it's real.
Yep.
Yeah. And it can be lighthearted.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was first discovered I had liver cancer, and I was in Boulder, I called a group of people together. I just put out a call and said, I'm going to meet at this time to talk about what to do if I die. And I had no idea who would show up. And I had like 20 people who came. And we talked about what that would look like and who would do what and what I wanted and all of that so that people knew. That was my whole experience with Green Barrel and all that.
Now, well, was that specific for you or was
Yeah.
it the
No.
informational thing? Because
No,
I wanted, once I find out, I want to do a informational thing as a community event.
oh, sure.
Yeah, because
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was after. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I use it to build community to
Right.
meet with people around.
Yeah.
stuff.
But I wanted people, I didn't know if I was going to live or die. I mean, I thought I was going to live, but who knows, So and there was no family around. So all I had was the people in the church. So I was really surprised at the number of people who came and were willing to be a part of that in some way.
And how did you put it? How did you word the invitation?
Oh, I don't know. This is 10 years ago,
No, I don't mean
12
what,
years ago, 20 years ago. Yeah.
I just mean, what were you inviting them to?
Oh, I just to uh the idea was that if I was to die, this is what I would like to have happen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were going to do it, not me.
How could you put that responsibility on them when it was your responsibility to make the plan?
If I'm dead, there's nothing I can do about it.
Oh, if you just,
Period. So they are, if they're going to, if the people around me are going to do something, this is what I would like them to do. I mean, some people have written out services and all of that stuff, and I have pieces of that. I've not gotten quite that far, but I mean, it's just helpful for people. And I don't know who would do it here. I mean, I'm sure somebody would step up, but I'm not really sure who, frankly. I don't have that kind of closeness. So I was surprised at the church that there were people who were willing to step up and do that. And I think that would be true here too, that people would take that on just because that's what we do for each other. It's not that we're that close, but it's just we're all a member, and so they would. So the more I can be directive now, the easier it is for them because they don't have to figure out all that stuff. You know?
yeah. So that's an advantage of being part of a church group.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh-huh.
Any kind of group, actually. I mean, yeah, when Jay died, I was just so, he had such an interesting relationship with the woman he lived with for 25 years. It was a love-hate relationship. They both wanted something that the other one did not have, and they could not forgive the other for not having it, but they appreciated what they had. And so there was this interesting love-hate.
That is interesting.
And when he died, she was not doing a memorial. And she didn't. And I didn't feel like I could do a memorial without her because I didn't know a lot of the people he knew that she knew, that he knew. And so it would have been harder for me to do that for him, but I certainly wanted to do one. But yeah, so it never happened. And that was kind of how, I mean, she stood by him through his sickness. She got him into hospice. She went to visit him and all that. But when he died, she was done.
Okay,
You know?
fair.
So, yeah. So, yeah. And she had to clean up all his mess. I mean, and Lord, he had it. So
Yeah.
that's not an easy thing, but they had a house together. So, and I know that they took care of each other. So I'm sure that he had paper to give her the house and stuff. Yeah.
Something we don't think about or focus
Yeah.
on or are prepared for
Yeah.
or have.
Yeah. And then it makes a mess for the people who are left because somebody has to clean it up. I mean, the state will come in and take it all and do all that, you know, and there are paupers' graves. So you can go there. That will happen. I mean, the state has to do something with your body. You can't just leave it there.
That's why it's the state.
So there's a process for that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's got my attention now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Bank accounts, all of that. Who gets that? Who knows about all your passwords and all your email stuff and all of that? Who can, they need to know how to get into that to do something with it.
right.
So Facebook, all of those. Yeah.
Right. Passwords to things.
That's right. That's right.
Uh-huh.
Passwords to your bank account. There are books you can buy that have lists of things so that you to help you think about
Oh,
things that
really?
you can think. Yeah, so you can buy that and just fill it out. So it will have passwords and it'll have last thoughts for certain people and things that you can do there. So it's all in one place that people can find.
Mhm.
Oh, those are helpful too.
Interesting. Yeah, it's not my favorite subject.
Why not? You'll have more say over the leaving than you ever had over the coming.
Well, that was easy.
No, it wasn't.
Well,
Trust me.
it was easy for me, I guess. Wasn't easy for my mother, I guess.
I don't think it was easy for you either. I've seen a lot of babies after birth, and they're still trying to figure out what all that was all about.
Uh-huh.
It was a lot of pressure and a lot of pain in some cases. Yeah. Yeah. That's what the colic is, where babies are going back and reliving that experience and responding to it and trying to make sense of it.
Really?
I think, yeah.
Thought it
And
was
I
just a digestive thing.
know people do, but I've actually found that I can sit with the baby and walk back through that process with them when they're uncomfortable, and they get to figure it out and realize that they're fine. It was horrible, but they're okay, and it just settles that.
That certainly would be traumatic.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Warm and comfortable and safe, and then all of a sudden blinding lights and different temperatures and noise, and geez, yeah.
I'm trying to make an association right now. Remember a fact, something about it has to do with the pineal gland,
Mm-hmm.
that when you know it's a chemical, it's a drug that's released when you're born and when you die. I forget I forget I forget what it is, but it's a drug, it's a recreational it's a recreational drug for some people that is a natural chemistry in us that is associated with the pineal gland when there's birth and death.
Huh.
It starts with a D. The word starts with a D.
Dopamine.
What? Don't
Dopamine.
no, no, that's a different one. That that's like a yeah, that no, it's something else that I don't remember what it is, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh, let's dive into a different pool, okay? Oh,
Mm.
my.
So this morning on HR, well, for the last week, they've been talking about China and how China's our friend. But one of the guys said today, which was really interesting because I hadn't really thought about it that much, is that the East is so different because China's whole thing about harmony, about the working for the group is more important than the individual, really historically has made them not interested in warfare. Protective, yes, but not aggressive warfare. In terms of outside their country, they've never really seemed to have done that, is what he's saying. I'd have to go back and really check history, but I do believe in the basic difference in the Chinese perspective. But Mao did so much destruction to that with the People's Revolution or the Cultural Revolution. So I don't think it's as homogeneous as they would like to pretend that it was. And I do see the current guy here as really a younger soul, not an older soul. He's really into power and he's really doing some other things. So I don't see China as, you know, an innocent, full of love for the world. I don't see that. But I do see that there is truly a difference. There is, and it's really interesting to think about. We've got this really individual West, and how we tried to handle COVID, for instance, where we tried to dictate that everybody do something and people went, oh, but you can't tell me what to do. And then China did the same thing and put everybody in their homes for a year, 2 years. I mean, people didn't leave and they accepted it. And they had very low death rates until they opened it up, and then people started dying again because you can't keep it down forever. But it's interesting to me to think about on a world stage, these differences in approaches to life, you know, a younger soul and an older soul kind of approach. And the whole harmony thing that is all part of Buddhism and Confucius, and for centuries, it's all been about harmony with stuff. And over here, it's about conquering things. So we've always wanted power over something. It doesn't matter what, whether it's, you know, the stuff or persons in our lives. We want to be in control. And that's part of that's whole white supremacy. All of that comes out of that stuff.
Yeah, the we you're referring to is who?
Is the United States.
Is
The United States is all individualistic, all power over. I mean, that's just what we do. And we've done that in the world. I mean, there were times when we've been nice, but then we've converted that niceness into power. And China right now is being very nice, especially with Africa and some of the other Asian countries. They have a huge policy going over, building infrastructure in Africa, doing all sorts of things, sharing grain, just doing all sorts of stuff, seemingly in an open-handed and very nice way. The truth is that once you become dependent on anybody, that's always a problem. It just is. I mean, because you get into control issues, even if you don't want them, because somebody has the source and somebody else doesn't. But it was just really interesting to see that basic difference that is there, and that could be brought forward in a very hopeful way. But you know, I do see the whole world as in that split, basically, because we've infected every country we've ever touched to be like us. They wanted to be like us. I mean, we've had food, we've had money, we've had stuff. Wow, it looks great, you know, but they don't understand the cost. That separation cost that the whole world is now paying for our lifestyle. And they don't see the value in the old way of being in harmony. You know, it's old, it's passé, it's not the future. And I just see that everywhere. I think that's the biggest issue. And it's in every country, it's all over the world. That's what's going to get us through or not.
What do you mean the old way?
Oh, the old way is harmony. The old way is working with. The old way is really trying to keep a balance in things. And the new way is not about that at all. It's just about power over. Whatever you're in control of is great. And you need to be in control of as much as you can be in. I mean, the control thing never ends, because you have to have it all. That's the only place you're safe, you know, but it doesn't work that way. It's not real. It's an illusion.
Well, focusing on harmony is more useful.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, but that's not the West.
Yeah, but that's us. I mean,
yeah, there are people here doing that. Yes.
I really believe we create our world by what we say.
And do. Yeah. There has to be a connection between what we say and do.
And that's why I feel like I'm a steward of conversation.
Yeah.
Not control.
Yeah.
I'm a steward of conversation, seeking to create what we desire by what we say,
Mhm.
because I'm learning from Maturana and others that
How's your conversation group?
creates our society. What we say creates.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's incumbent upon us to speak that which we honor, desire, recognize as good and helpful to life, as life-centric,
Yep.
that our language be life-centric.
Yep.
And even delving into, I mean, being confronted with talking about my own death is still life-centric.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's the intention of it, and to do it well,
Mhm.
to do it in harmony with life
Mhm.
and those that I love.
Mhm.
Um, so I am kind of steward of, and we don't talk about that much. We don't think about that much, that what we say, how, what we talk about, what we're creating as we talk.
Mm.
I don't even know what we'd call that.
Well, and that's, for me, it's part of the discernment that I think we need to have to notice when we have language that separates or language that's power over, because it's so normal. I was in a conversation yesterday, and I talking to a guy, and he said that he was trying to create a community where people could come and we could work on the earth and do stuff. And I said, how about with the earth? It's that simple change.
How about what?
The difference between working on the earth and working with the earth. I mean, that's just that, it's those noticing
That's
those times when we just shift that.
because it's alive. So it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
working
Well,
on it.
it's also bigger than us, so we might as well partner.
So I anticipate an emerging I don't know what it would be called, context, and a context of creative languaging, of being of consciously creative languaging.
Yeah, and I think that's happening. I think there's a lot of people moving in that direction.
Uh-huh.
We're still going to have to go through the dissolution phase, which has barely begun, because as things get hot, lots of stuff is going to have to go, and some of that stuff will be people. So that's going to be a really rough period. So keeping this alive through that is going to be a task.
Well, that's why we plan for it now.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the deep dive to talk about things that matter and dissipate.
And thank you for your help and support. That was really wonderful.
Oh,
Did you
sure.
get my email?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I appreciate what you do. I
Thank
mean,
you.
deep dive is important to me. I look forward to this every week. So, and you do it all for free. You know, it's service, it's gift, and
Thank you.
I'm happy to bless you whenever and however I can, because it's all the same thing. What goes around comes around type
We
thing.
are all in it together. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very helpful.
Yeah, so I've been wondering why China is coming to the forefront in humanity rising in
Well, China is trying. to take their place in the world. For a long time, they were very withdrawn, and they're not so much. I mean, with trade, they're really being pulled out of their shell. And with the war in Ukraine, Russia has really sort of hung on to China as an ally to create the sense of, well, you attack me, you attack China. And China's not really agreed with that, but they have said that they will continue to trade with Russia. I mean, they've been very careful. They don't support Russia. They are trading partners, and they're not going to get into the war at all. It's between Russia and Ukraine. It's their business. China's keeping hands off. But they did come out with a peace proposal, which of course the United States, totally dismissed. But they did. So they're thinking about that. And they're seeing themselves as having the ability to work with both parties because they're not involved. So, and that has created some tension here because Trump was very anti-China. Biden was not really pro-China either. And one of the interesting things today was the guy showed a picture of all the American bases around China. We've got, you'd be amazed at the number of bases we've put around China to make sure they don't go anywhere. In Japan, we've just co-opted all of the other little countries around China. And that's our sort of aggressive, we're going to take care of you kind of thing. Just so you got to watch. And there's this issue of Taiwan, which is starting to come up. So Taiwan is a little quasi-independent piece of China that we have said over and over and again will support.
Their independence, we'll support them.
And we're supporting their independence because they are practically the only people in the world that make some of the silicon chips we use. So our whole technological infrastructure rests on that company in Taiwan, which makes no sense, but that's the way it is. So Biden is trying to bring some of that over here, so we don't have that it makes sense. We shouldn't be, you should never be dependent on one thing, period. It's just not a good strategy for almost anything. But we've not paid attention to it. They're really, really good at what they do. And China has said yes, and they're ours. And don't you interfere. And the United States says, no, they're independent and we'll support them. And that's a problem. So if China was to be more insistent, that would certainly raise that ante majorly. And it would really have an incredible impact. So Biden is trying to get groups here to work on those chips so that we have resources, but it's in its infancy. So we'll see where that goes. That's why.
That issue, that dynamic, the relationships of those countries have even made it into my favorite TV series, Madam Secretary.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
yeah,
yep. Yeah, and Biden has been, that's the one thing about Biden. He's very old school in some ways. And as they pointed out today, so was Hillary. She had been trained by the intelligence. She was a guy in a skirt. Hillary Clinton. And she was not going to, she was not conciliatory in any way. She was very much a hawk in how she was trained to think. So it's probably, I don't know. It would have had issues because she wouldn't have backed down. She wouldn't have been conciliatory. She wouldn't have been clever in her diplomacy, I don't believe, any more than any of the other presidents have been, frankly. Trump was just horrible. And Biden's not much better. I mean, we forget one of the things about the East is saving face. So you're very careful about your public persona with your enemy. You don't want to disparage them. You don't do those kinds of things. We name call. We do that kind of stuff, and it's very hurtful to China.
Don't call them your enemy.
It just makes it worse.
That.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that's, yeah. So, and that's, Biden is not great there, I will say, but he's also very sharp in diplomacy. So he's not a dumb person, and he is a huge negotiator. So I do think there are options, but he is very much bitten by we're superior. We're better than everybody else, and we can work with them, but we're still better than. And that doesn't go over so good with the rest of the world. So but I don't see anybody else is going to be any better either. And I sure don't have any faith in Robert Kennedy.
I'm dumb to all that. I don't.
Oh, he's one of the people who are running for the Democratic nomination.
What's wrong with him? I mean, Kennedy is like, it's a breath of fresh air, the name.
That's right. That's right. And that's the problem. And he's an anti-vaxxer. He is very big on conspiracy theories. He's been a darling of the right wing for a long time for that reason. But he also had strong environmental credentials at the beginning. But when I hear what he's saying and talking, it's just, I don't see a strategist. I see somebody with his head in the clouds who's going to live his ideals no matter what's going to happen about them, and not really being sensitive to other people's needs. So
has he become Republican?
No, he's running as a Democrat now. He was a Republican before. I don't know if he was a Republican, but he certainly has all the Republican friends, and a lot of Republicans are thrilled that he's running. So if he actually did get the nomination, he would certainly take people from both sides because of his name and because of his anti-vaxxing. But I don't see the wisdom that we need in a president.
By anti-vaccine, do you mean legally imposed? Or what do you mean?
Well, yeah, and it's even more. He really believes that vaccines are poisons that are killing people. He's got an organization that's really focused on children not vaccinating. And the chemical approach to health has severe limitations, but it also has some positives. And we have seen vaccinations make huge differences in things. So I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I'm not like go out and stick everybody for everything either. I just think that chemicals have limitations, but they also right now have solutions to some issues, and we really need to take advantage of that when we can. And I can't imagine. We already lost 1 million people here, and if we had not vaccinated, we will have lost way more. I mean, we lost more than almost any other country in the world. I mean, why? That makes no sense. And our health, yes.
COVID?
Yes. It was huge.
That's strange.
Yeah, well, people didn't want to vaccinate, so they died. And Trump pushed that.
He pushed being vaccinated or not being vaccinated?
He pushed not vaccinating.
It's also dumb.
It is.
We're still dumb.
Yeah, I mean, it's putting your mind in front of reality and believing your mind. I think this thing, therefore, and not looking at reality and what actually works or fits. You know, just assuming if you think it, you can make it so.
Yeah, that is not a systems point of view.
No, it's not.
And we are a living system.
Yeah, we're not separate individual cells that can just do whatever we willy-nilly want.
We're
Yeah.
just one species among many, 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 many more,
Yeah.
and one country and one thought form and one culture.
Oh, but it's mine. That makes it all the more important because it's mine.
That's just dumb.
It is. Anyway, so that's been my reading of him. And everybody, so many people that I look up to and respect are for him. It is just amazing. Just amazing. A lot of intelligence.
Kennedy.
Yeah, now a lot of the intelligentsia. Jim Garrison on HR is just over the moon. Charles Epstein is on his campaign. It just, yes, it is really shocking. But Charles is also an anti-vaxxer. And so is Jim.
Labeling doesn't work.
No, and I think so much of that is just they don't want, and Jim has said this, you know, you should control your body. I don't want somebody telling me I have to do something. Oh, yeah, well, come on, get off it. I'm a woman. You guys have told me to do things from my entire life, and I can discern when that works and when it doesn't. You get that skill after a while. That's right. So if he doesn't want to vaccinate, that's fine. But I don't think you have any right to tell other people not to do that.
Of course not.
But see, I mean, anyway, it's just.
I don't understand. I don't even try to understand stupidity.
Yeah, I don't think it's easy to understand, but I certainly want to be able to see it when it's in front of me. Yeah, I'm really disappointed in Kennedy. I can't tell you.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm disappointed in politics as a our focus on the power we give away to others that we have no way to touch. I mean,
well, I think we need to have some way of some rules of engagement to engage other people who are different or who have different perspectives. I think that's necessary for people to get along. In politics, I see as one example of that. But again, it's to what end? And if it's politics for domination, that's a whole different thing. If it's politics for connection and harmony, it's a whole different thing. So the end makes all the difference. Yeah.
right. Right. Our rules of engagement in the area of politics suck.
Well, and that's where, that's why I'm kind of really playing with this global ethic thing, because that comes right out of our value systems. It truly does. I just can't leave that and just stick with the earth values, because the earth values are magnificent, but you have to understand where we come from and the habits we have that get in the way of those.
I don't understand what you're saying. It's like ethics of earth and ethics of human. I don't understand what you're talking about. What do you?
Yeah, just exactly that.
Earth ethics and human ethics.
Yeah. So most of our all of our ethical systems that I know about are human centric. They're all about how we get along with each other. So you be nice to people, you tell the truth, are loyal, which is a different ethic. And that's part of the problem, because when you see values as systems, then from the systemic approach, you begin to see certain dynamics that are not available otherwise. You can see connections and patterns that you don't see otherwise. So I think that that's important, because it really speaks to intent, because all living systems have an intent. And so do value systems. They each have intents, and we have more than one. We already have two, but the earth has her own.
I don't know what you're talking now. The earth ethics and human ethics and the what?
Well, they have if you understand values as systems, which Jane Jacobs posited.
Well, see, you're putting something out there that is external to
It's not
what it's emerged from. It's not about understanding the ethics, it's about understanding the earth or humanity or whatever it is. I mean, if ethics and values are words that arise out of the substance of something.
Right. Yeah, and the substance of humanity for centuries has been humanity, not life.
True.
Okay. So the intent of the systems that have come out of that are human focused.
Sure.
Okay.
True.
And they're not life focused at all.
Right. And right.
And what emerges from Earth is always life focused. Always. That's all she does.
You as a human are defining what Earth's values?
No, I am noticing how Earth works and trusting that everything that life does is to support life.
Sure.
And if I can notice what that is and follow it, then maybe my actions will also support life. I think that's a pretty fair.
Yes.
Statement. But our ethics and value systems are not from life. They're from humans, which are all about power over.
You're in a loop. You're in a power over loop, a human.
Well, humans are. I haven't seen a value system that isn't. We try and that's the point. That's the point of those value systems. Aristotle and all those folks are trying to take people who want power over others and figure out how to make them work together. That's the whole point. To diminish that.
See, when you say words explanatorily, like power over, I don't let it come in. Because I don't want that. I'm not.
You don't have to want it to understand it. That's not a prerequisite. But to be blind to it is to be at the effect of it.
I'm attempting to be steward now of our languaging.
Yeah.
To create what we desire, to create what is life friendly in our conversation, rather than power over. That's not conducive.
That's my point. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
That language. Let's not use that language.
How can you talk about it in another way?
Let's try.
Well,
that's try to be conscious of using language that supports what I want to, using language.
Well, that's why understanding a different ethic is important, because it gives you a whole new language.
What does? What I'm saying?
Understanding earth ethics gives you a new language to talk about ethical behavior, gives you a new perspective on what that looks like. That does support life. It also supports humans because we're alive, you know?
Well, but so talk that. Don't talk about what's not working, what's wrong.
Well, we went through this earlier. You have to be able to discern. So you have to notice when the language doesn't support it.
Discerning and languaging, discerning and creating what you say.
To go together. You can't discern something you don't know. You have to know both sides. You have to be able to see what the difference is. That doesn't mean you choose it, but it means you notice it. And it's everywhere around us. So it's not like you can pretend it's not there.
Do you know what I mean when I say, let's use language that supports what works? What
That's what the whole resilient value set is about. That's exactly what it's all about, is giving.
About something you've created.
I haven't created it, Ani. You don't understand. I have not created it. It is not mine. It is the earth. It is how the earth works. It is the patterns the earth uses to make life happen. I can notice those. I haven't noticed those. Scientists have noticed those. Poets have noticed those. The indigenous people have noticed certain patterns for centuries. They have language that they use around those patterns. I have brought those languages together as a coherent whole. So it's not anything I did. I collected it, yes, but it's not mine. I didn't create it. It didn't come out of my head.
I understand that part. But you also use language that is not earth-centric, that talks about what's wrong and what's bad and what all this.
That's true.
And I don't see that as useful.
I understand that. And I think we disagree.
Okay.
I don't think that it's useful to use. I think it's useful to be aware of. There's a difference. And I think to not use it is a good thing. And we need to do that, absolutely. But we need to notice the difference. And some of those words are so familiar and those patterns are so familiar that we just do it. We don't even think about it. So why do we?
No, and what I'm suggesting is that we not do it because we create the morphogenetic field of that.
I understand that. We're not in disagreement with that.
Okay.
But what I'm hearing is that I should pretend those words didn't exist. And I'm saying you can't do that.
That's
but
right.
You do have to have an option, which I believe the earth has offered us. And so I'm offering that, but people are very stuck over here. And they don't understand that difference. When you can see the difference, using that language and using this language and see how different it is, then you can begin to see why this is important. And that's where I am. It's not about using this. It's about recognizing when it doesn't do this and having options to choose from. Because otherwise you're just saying, don't say that. And there's nothing else to do. People still want to be good people. They still want rules.
They still want what?
Rules. That's what ethics are, is rules. They're, I should be good. I should be kind. You got a whole list of things that you ought to be. But if you act in a certain way, those things happen. It's a little bit like the money conversation. If you do what you love, the money will follow. And what you're focusing is on what you love instead of on money. So they may get you money, and money may come, it may be part of that, but it's not the focus. And I think life is just like that. We need to focus on life, and then all the other stuff comes. You are kind. If you're thinking about being in reciprocity and in right relationship, of course you're kind. You have to be. You can't be in right relationship and not be kind. But you can be kind and not in right relationship. That's very possible. And we do that a lot. which is why I feel that Earth's values are underneath. They drive things. They drive all this behavior, all these pieces that we're grasping at, because these aren't part of the system. The drivers are part of the system, and the drivers create that. That just happens. People worry about anti-racism. Well, if you value diversity, if you want to be in a right relationship and you understand reciprocity, how can you be racist? It's not possible. But when you're trying not to be racist, what does that, how do you do that?
I don't feel like we are having the kind of conversation I would I'm not particularly enjoying the kind of conversation that we're having, because it seems so definitive. And life isn't.
No,
So
but you're also not engaged. You're very self-protective of anything that seems like it's telling you what to do. And my being definitive makes you feel like I'm telling you what to do.
you're defining what is.
I'm not. I'm collecting
You.
what others have seen as what is. Lots of different perspectives, different eyes have seen different patterns.
What would it be like if we didn't define everything according to what somebody said, or what
Well, that's where we've been for centuries. This is not new information, frankly. I mean, people have said we're all one. You can go back centuries and hear that. And what the hell has it done? What big difference has it made in our world? I mean, we're you know, it took me 80 years to actually have that experience of that understanding. I said that years ago. I believed that years ago, but I did not have the experience of it until recently, through scientific thinking, frankly, really understanding these patterns put me right into the earth. And I had that experience of being one.
the information creates formation. Okay, information is the beginning of something new emerging. I mean, that's the nature of information. And so I'm very sensitive and conscious of to the best of my ability and consciousness at the time to what I'm saying, to what I'm creating, as I share information that creates form.
Yeah, I try and be too.
But I try not to, I don't know exact, I'm developing a new path of developing a new I just know what comes out of my mouth creates. And so I'm desiring to let it be something that comes from my heart and my mind, and not transferring already formed crap that I really don't want, but to create a new, as I share whatever it is that I share from my, I don't even know, from my relationship with nature. Just speak from my relationship with nature. Just not all this other crap that defines everything and structures everything, and because it's not working right. Because we need a more authentic.
Well, the two actually go together if they're coherent. They're not an either or.
Well, it's not an either or, but we do create with our languaging.
Yeah, no, there's no argument. See, you keep arguing, and I don't have an argument for you. I agree. There's no, yes, absolutely.
But I keep hearing facts from you.
No,
Not
facts don't disappear just because you're in your heart. I mean, it's a both and. It's a both and we have poetically said this for centuries. And it has spoken to a few of us, absolutely. But we're in a space now where there's a whole there's been an education and a culture that has come from a very different place. So now from that place, you can say the same thing. The two are finally coming together. It's not an either or, it is a both and. But to exclude either one is at our peril because we need both.
what are you
And that's
calling, what are you calling each of them? What's your
well,
frame? What's
well, I keep giving you the framework and you keep telling me that I'm saying bad things and doing bad things and you won't listen to it. So I don't know what to tell you. The framework is there. It does make sense to me and to people who have maybe
creating, is it creating a new society?
I hope. If we acted like the earth, it would. Absolutely.
You
But
just have
like
such
any,
a different approach.
yeah, it is a different approach. I mean, values are a wholly different approach. We have done amazing things with values and it's not been effective at all because of where we are. We can tell it has not really informed our behavior in a way that's been at all helpful. And I really think that Jane Jacobs' understanding of the values as systems is the entree into understanding why it hasn't worked. And I'm really curious because one of the people who did listen to me when I talked at World Unity Week last week was Leo Jacoby, who's been on HR for 3 or 4 years. And he's a Christian and he's very values and ethics focused. And when I started talking to him, he sent me all these old resources about Aristotle and all these folks and how they've, and that I was not doing that. And I said, you're absolutely right. I'm not doing that. This does not fit into that at all because it's not human centric. But it is the way lots of people live, but they're mostly indigenous. And they don't always articulate it this way either. It's their actions and the stories they tell and some of the words they use that have alerted me to their connection to this system. So they bring forth certain parts of this system. They don't bring forth the whole thing. Just as none of the other systems are really brought forth. Jane Jacobs was the only one to really do the research to show that they're systems, that these values that we think are all separate are not. They're connected.
I